we're back. That was a nice break. Yeah, how you guys doing?
It's going well.
Yeah,
Second hours of Hebrew are always fun, especially grammar.
indeed.
And
Especially
especially
when we
grammar.
start out with 7 people watching.
Yeah,
So myself and up there.
this has been our most popular stream of the two of them for sure, by a lot. So,
Nice.
uh-huh.
Yes, you can say, what's up, manishma? Manishma, makore, mashlomchem. Excellent. We are covering the next part of Show's grammar. Again, this is the book. Please get yourself a copy. Wonderful, brilliant book from what's it? From Baker?
Also in paperback.
Isn't it Abingdon Press?
Abingdon Press in Nashville. So yes, there's a paperback version. So go out and get yourself a copy and follow along. Hi, Adel over there in Chatland, and Marcelo. And welcome,
And I'm
welcome.
sorry
welcome.
that you guys can see my messy bed in the background. I need to get one of those filter things. Make myself on a beach.
Blur it. Blur it.
It's on your camera settings.
Yeah.
On here? On StreamYard?
It's
watch mine. Blur. Well, it should be blurred.
Nothing happened.
It's working. My computer's
like
throwing things at me. How about this? That didn't work either. That's supposed to work.
Well,
there's no virtual background.
That's only on Zoom, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's here too. It's here too. You see, my background is blurred.
How do you get to it?
Settings.
Yeah, settings, virtual background. I don't know why mine's not working, but who cares? All right, so we are going to do the homework together from lesson 4, and then move into lesson 5, which is my favorite topic of Hebrew grammar. We'll move that up, and there we go. Look at Jonathan's background. Look, it's all magic.
You believe in
technological magic?
Again, a young girl's heart.
Do you believe in magic? And I hope you do. You always have a friend wearing big red shoes.
The answer is no. As much as magic is awesome, and I wish it were true, I just can't buy into it. Okay, so we are looking at lesson 4. This is exercise 4, section 3. Okay, so it says translate the following into Hebrew. And the word that it gives us is words. So that's asking for a plural. What is the singular word for word? Or
davar.
Thing. Yes, davar. Okay, so this is the most basic of words that you could imagine. We are going to point it as if it were singular, davar. This is what you get in your vocabulary. Okay, what ending do we add to make it plural?
Masculine.
We can't say masculine and feminine.
All right, im.
Im. Okay, why can we not say masculine and feminine? We'll see in a few minutes.
Oh,
right?
That's right.
So this is the tone syllable. We're going to mark it with accent. Okay, this syllable is near, and this syllable is distant. What happens? Near is long. That's wonderful. And distant reduces. So the form is dvarim. Dvarim. Right? You agree? Okay, what do we get with the next one? Spirits. What's the word for spirit?
Ruach.
Ruach. Okay. Ruach. What's the ending, the plural for ruach? First of all, is it masculine
there are
or
two
feminine?
of them. There are two. It could be both, I think, if I recall correctly.
Mm-hmm.
So ruach can be either masculine or feminine. Okay, that's true. But the plural, even when it's masculine, is ot. There's no.
Is there no ruchim?
Only ruchot. Ruchot can be masculine or feminine, but it's still ruchot. Mm-hmm. Remember that the ending ot is not a feminine ending. We should not call im masculine and ot feminine. That is not true in nouns. In nouns, it's not true. It's true in adjectives. Okay? So we got to be careful to make that distinction. Im and ot are endings that are masculine and feminine correspondingly in adjectives, but in nouns, about 30% of the time, they have the opposite endings. And we have a list of them that you have to learn, but there are others that are not included in that list, of course. This word,
Would it be
rams.
premature to ask about participles used as nouns?
Participles are used as adjectives. Participles are verbal forms that act as adjectives, and adjectives, all adjectives, not just participles, can be used as substantives. They can be used as if they were nouns.
So if they're used as substantives, what happens with the?
They're consistently im and ot.
Depending. Ooh, the teacher is gone.
Yeah.
This is like a Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
Where did I go?
There you go.
Jonathan removed himself from the stage, and he also removed me. He wanted to go somewhere, so he hit both of us off. I don't know why.
If he can't learn, nobody learns.
He's like-
Participles are just
He's
like
like-
every adjective.
He's like Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, he's just here and then he's gone. Here and then gone. He decides he wants to go check on something and see the news, and he just goes.
At least the
So,
Cheshire Cat left his smile.
well, you can see he left his virtual background.
That's he is. Here, look at this.
Anyway, so participles are going to behave just like adjectives, meaning that they are going to be consistent in the masculine and feminine endings.
All right. So if the participle is made from a feminine, it'll have a feminine ending. Let's put it this way: if the you know what I'm talking about, right?
If a participle is feminine in the plural, it's going to have ot.
All right.
If it's masculine, it's going to have im. It's going to be consistent.
All right.
Because participles are verbal adjectives. That's what we call them. Like an infinitive is a verbal noun. Okay? All right. So the word ram. How do we say singular?
Ail.
Aisle. We do have a lot to go through. So let's try to be fast on these because we have a lot to cover today. Segolates are a big topic. Aisle is singular. What happens when you have aisle? It becomes alim. Alim. Okay, alim are rams. That is something. The I to a is something that we're going to see all over the place in Hebrew. Okay, like zait. Zait is an olive. And if you talk about the Mount of Olives, it's ha-zeitim. Zeitim, olives. Okay, lights. If we take
Or.
the plural,
Orim.
it's true in modern Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, we say orot, and it's masculine. But in the Bible, it's actually orim. So when we talk about Hanukkah, we call it Chag HaOrim. Chag HaOrim, it's the festival of lights, because Orim is the biblical plural. But in modern Hebrew, it's Orot. So you're not wrong, Elena. You're right, and it sounds good to my ears. But in the Bible, it's Orim. Okay, so and it doesn't happen very much because normally in the Bible we're going to use a different word. Like the book of Genesis uses the word ma'or, meaning a source of light. And then its plural is me'orot, where the distant syllable reduces. Right? That's our rule of thumb. In nouns, the near syllable lengthens and the distant syllable reduces. So now we have even. Even is a stone. Even. This is a segolate noun, and we'll go over it in a few minutes. Even. Segolate nouns have a separate plural root. And the plural root in Segolate is just like davar, where it's, okay, nim. So we've got the near syllable. Okay, I'm going to erase this. The near syllable is long with kamatz, and the distant syllable reduces when it's with the guttural, it's going to become avanim. Okay, it reduces to the chataf version of the vowel. Okay. All right. Eyes. The word for eye. One eye. Maybe somebody in the chat wants to tell us. Oh, yeah. Maybe somebody in the chat wants to also confirm to us what is the word for eye in Hebrew if you can type. Or if you want to type in English even, the word for I. And I'll
Ayin.
take it.
Ay.
Ayin. Okay, so if we write it in modern Hebrew, it looks like this. Ayin. In Bible, Ayin. Okay, it's got the I again, that A-Y-I that we said. It becomes A. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Drop this. It's going to become A when we add the ending. What ending do we add to I to make it plural?
I'm.
Yes, because it has two of them, so it's Aim. A naim. A naim is eyes, and it's got a dual ending. A naim. Okay, brilliant. I see Jonathan has rejoined us. Okay, the next one. Jonathan, do you want to tell us what this word is? Oh, come on stage. What are you doing?
Hang on.
I like your background. It looks good.
Oh yeah, I know. You can't tell that I'm a freaking slob.
Yeah, it looks lovely. So what is the word for iniquity or guilt?
Avon.
Avon. Okay, it's going to have kamatz, and then this holam is on the vav. It's not on, it's avon. Okay, how do we make
Yeah,
that
because
plural? It's masculine.
You
How
can't
do you
have
tell
more
the
than one
difference? Is there any
consonant.
way to tell the difference?
Yeah, each
When you're
consonant only have
typing-
one vowel. But
When you're typing, you're going to have it right above, and if it's vo, then it's on the left in typing. Okay, but what
So
we have going
Could
on
you
here?
repeat that? I'm sorry. I was thinking. Could you repeat what you just said? I'm sorry about that.
Is it with the ayin or aleph?
it's
This
with
is
an
ayin.
ayin. With an ayin.
So
You're thinking of
for some
Evan, I
reason,
think.
for some reason, my brain processes like pictures of things. Like I see autism, you know. So I'm like, this is ayin. I always see it. I see words, so I won't often spell things incorrectly. But so the cholam vav has the dot just above the vav, whereas the vav with cholam has it off to the left. And so this is vo and this is o. So, but it's not always consistent, but that's generally the rule. Because this already has a vowel, this cannot be a vowel, right? Because if this were o, then we would have to have no vowel here, like the word ol. Ol. If there's anything before it, then it has to be a vav. V.
Thank you.
So, but once we have this, like this, then it's definitely avon, even if the dot is not offset.
Avera. Okay.
So this is avon. We're gonna put this. What's the ending for the plural, Jonathan?
Avanim. Well,
That sounds like stones.
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Avonim.
so this is ot.
Avonot.
This is masculine ending in ot, and this now we have a distant syllable, which does what? What does distant do? Reduces, and with guttural it reduces to hataf. Okay, the hataf patach. Avonot. Avonot are iniquities. Avonot. Okay, the next one, battles. Anybody know the word for battle? Battle. They're gonna give us the word milchama. Milchama. I don't like this because I feel that milchama is more war, and that a smaller war or a battle is krav. Krav.
As in
Is that a
Krav
modern
Maga?
word, though? I think
Krav
that's
Maga.
a modern
Yes.
meaning. Right.
What
I
is
So
think
milchama is
that battles idea because it comes from the root to fight. So I think they're just taking it as like a fighting, like not
so
necessarily.
milchama is a battle or a war. How do we make it plural? This one's easy.
It's the same. It's just an oath ending.
Yeah, it ends in a. You just take off the a and you add ot. Milchamot. Now we have three syllables. We have the ending with the tone. We have a near syllable that likes to be near syllable wants to be long. and that's long, so that's fine. And the distant syllable wants to reduce. Can this reduce?
No.
No, because it's locked in place. Once you have a closed syllable, it is locked because there's nothing you can do with it. It's already short and it's locked as it is. Great. Great. So milchamot. Okay. Masters is from the word adon. Adon. Okay. We're going to add to this one the ending im. Im. How do you know if you add im or ot? You just have to know the word. Okay. This is a historic long near syllable, and the distant syllable reduces adonim. Adonim, masters. Okay. It doesn't matter if it has the vav or not. If it's adonim with vav or without vav, it's the same. Okay. Palaces. Let's just. I'm just going to give them to you because we need to really get through this because we've got a lot to do. Echal is not a Hebrew word. It's imported into Hebrew, and the plural is echalot. Echalot. It stays long because it's an imported word, not really Hebrew. It is masculine, ending in ot. Messengers or angels are malach. Malach is singular, and malachim in the plural. Malachim, messengers or angels. Okay. All right. Number 12, burnt offerings. The singular is olah. Olah. We just replace this a with ot, and we get olot, regular. Next, we have the word hands. We're referring to your body part, which is yad. And when it's a body part, we say yadaim. Yadaim. Right? It doesn't mean two, it just means hands. Yadaim.
Does Seow make the distinction between hands as body parts, like the parentheses, or is that something that you added?
You must, right? I don't think I added that.
Okay, good.
I don't know.
I know because you specifically addressed that last week.
Yeah, I think I just typed them out.
Okay.
I don't remember changing it, but
I'm just curious.
No, that's the way it is in the homework. Is that what you're asking?
In the homework, he says number 13. He says two hands, and number 14 he says hands, but that's
plural.
It's not
interesting.
So yad is hand, and yadot are hands like parts of something. Like it can be 9 parts or 10 parts.
So it doesn't reduce down to a schwa because the first syllable is considered tonic. I mean pre-tonic.
No. Yeah, exactly. Pre-tonic. That's the thing. Is that because the syllable is here and the near syllable is long. Near syllable generally is long.
Okay.
These are general rules that help you understand and anticipate the placement of the reduction of syllables. So the word for place is makom. Okay, makom, and this is a masculine that ends in ot. See how many masculines in an ot? Makom. This is the distant syllable. It reduces to shva. Mekomot. Places. Okay.
I missed that. Okay.
Mekomot. You see,
I love it how
already,
people are checking their homework. That's awesome. Thanks, folks.
Are they doing it in the chat? That's what you're supposed to do.
Oh, I know, but they don't have to because they're not paying for this course, so they have no obligation. But they're choosing.
Even
to do
if you
it
pay
anyway.
for a course, you don't have to do it.
I know. Well, I just pulled a Jason. I just said what you said. You're affecting me in.
I know. So even in this, you can see like stones are feminine that end in im. Spirits are masculine or feminine that end in ot. Iniquities are masculine that end in ot. Palaces are masculine that end in ot. You can see already places and komot masculine. You can see already that there are a lot of exceptions to this idea of im is masculine and ot is feminine, which is something I really want you to get out of your head. Like whoever taught you that taught you wrong, because
it's usually true.
It's true about adjectives.
Mm-hmm.
It is not true about nouns. Nouns, like I said, about 30% of the most common nouns in the language are going to be the opposite of what they've told you.
30% is a good chunk.
And that is enough for us not to call them irregular. Seow calls them irregular. They are not irregular.
I think
It's
everybody
perfectly
does.
regular.
Well, it's irregular in that it doesn't follow that pattern. That's what
Because
it means.
that pattern is not what people are telling you that it is. People will
Correct.
tell you that im is masculine and ot is feminine. That is not true. That is not true. All right, so read out loud the following passage and pick out the words that you recognize and translate them. Let's try to do this as quickly as we can. I think both of you are already good enough at reading Hebrew that you should be able to read pretty strongly. So let's see. I will do the first one. Jonathan will do the second one. Then John, and then Elena. Okay. So Velohenu vashamayim kol asher chafetz asa. These are a nomic verb. It's a nomic verb, but
what do you mean by nomic?
It means that it refers to all time, even though it looks like it's past tense. Asa. I know all the words, but okay. So Velohenu, and our God in heaven, Vashamayim, Kol Asher Chafetz, whatever he wishes, whatever he wants, Asa, he does. He does whatever he wants, like whatever he desires to do.
Could it also be translated our God is in heaven?
Because it's the subject of asa and the subject of chafetz, it doesn't make sense to make it a nominal clause.
Got it. Thank you.
It needs to be the subject of those verbs. Colton is watching on the side, and my mom is watching on the side. We love you guys. So, Jonathan Beck, with your beautiful background, I want that apartment.
Me too. I do too. All right. So,
can you see it?
Yeah. Atzabehem chesef v'zahav. I should probably read slower. Ma'aseh yadei adam. So Atzabehem, they're silver and gold themselves. Silver and gold themselves. I guess.
No. So etzev here is atzabim, which comes into modern Hebrew as nerves, like your nerves, atzabim. But in the Bible, it means idols. Idols. They're idols.
Wow.
So idols, silver and gold. Silver and gold idols. And then
their idols are silver and gold. Maaseh yedei Adam.
Yeah, the one who makes the hands of man.
Not the one who makes, but the work of the hands of man. Okay, so what should you recognize as students? You should I think we've covered the word Eloah for God, Eloah. I'm not sure, Elohim. You've covered the word Shamayim, heaven. Kol, I think we've had kol, everything or what or all. Asa, maybe you recognize it. Asa, he did or he made. So ma'aseh is from asa. It's a deed or an act, something that's made. You can see here yad, hand. This is yadei, which hands of, that we'll get to later. Adam, like Adam, man. You wouldn't recognize etzev, like this is not a word that's very common, but atzab behem is their idols. Kesev and zahav you already had. So far we're doing pretty good. Jonathan Leifer.
Thank you.
I'm so bad with that, but I got it the first guess this time.
Yeah, don't worry about it. I've been all my life. All right. Tel lahem v'lo yedaberu. Say what?
Yes.
Okay. Enayim lahem v'lo yira'u.
So what words do you recognize? You probably recognize all of them, but
I recognize all of them. So it's their mouth. It's interesting. Mouth is singular, but the adjective, their mouth
Yeah, but it's
is
not really
plural.
there. It means a mouth to them. They have a mouth.
Oh, I
It's
see.
talking about the
Oh,
idols.
okay,
A
I
mouth
get
to
it.
them.
Got it.
Mhm.
They have mouths, but they do not speak.
Right?
Uh,
Enaim lahem.
eyes, uh, they do not. They have eyes, but they do not see.
Great. I like that you translated the vav as but. That's really, really good to have that sense because these are contrastive things. Normally, the things that have mouths speak and things that have eyes see. But this is saying, though they have a mouth, they don't speak. And though they have eyes, they don't see. And we're going to cover that structure later on. And Elena, you've got the last one. It's the same kind of idea.
אזניים להם ולא ישמעו. אף
Mhm.
להם ולא יראון.
Mhm. Okay.
The only
So
thing
what
I
words do you
heard
recognize?
Okay, so they have ears, but they don't hear. They have nose, but they don't smell.
Right. Excellent. So
I
oznaim
heard,
is
Oznaim Kamatz Hatuf or Katan.
oznaim from ozen.
Yeah.
Ozen.
You should explain
means-
that one. Segolet boy. Go for it.
We have things that we need to cover.
Oh, I know,
Oznaim, but they don't hear, and af, but they don't smell. Yep. Yeriach. We might get to ozen because it's probably part of the lesson.
Is that smell
Okay.
rather than breathe?
Smell. Yeah.
All right.
Le'ariach is to smell. In modern Hebrew, it means both. Like I smell a flower and I smell bad. It means both. We have a word that means smell bad, masriach. Masriach is like he gives off a bad smell. But you can say hu yesh lo reach lo tov, he has a bad smell, or hu meriach lo tov, he smells bad. Whatever. So, did you read through lesson 5 in the book prior
I
to
did.
this session? Yes, good. Good. Okay, so lesson 5 objectives. These are basically what we're going to cover. I would break lesson 5 down into 2 things, and I would say really they're one thing. So they're going to cover. I switched the order around from Seow because I think he did it in a bad order. Segolate nouns and geminate nouns. This will apply also to segolate adjectives. Do we have them? We do, but it's mostly participles that are of that.
He's already talking about geminates in lesson 5.
Yes.
Yikes. All right.
So segolate gets its name from the word segol, which is the name of that 3-letter vowel, the 3 dots, 3-dot vowel. And geminate gets its word from the Latin word geminus. Geminus means a twin, like Gemini. You say Gemini whenever you're talking about the horoscope. In Latin, it is Gemini, not Gemini. Geminus, Gemini. So we are going to find out, I think, in my opinion, the geminate nouns are a special class of segolates. And I will see if you agree with me or disagree with me, but that's what I feel. And I think that it should be covered that way. Okay, so the first thing we want to think about is what are case endings. I know it feels ridiculous to talk about Hebrew and cases, but there was a time in the history of our beautiful Hebrew language where we had case endings. What do I mean by case endings? If we see this Greek word pais, not everybody knows Greek, but this is pais or pes if you speak modern Greek. So if it's the subject of a sentence, it falls into the nominative case, or the predicate nominative. It can be like I am a doctor. That would be the predicate noun. Those go into the nominative case. Genitive is possession. So you say of a boy. Pais means boy. Paidos means of a boy. Paidi means to a boy with the dative. This is of or from, and this is with nothing. And then paida is what you use for the object of a sentence. Like, I love my son. My son would be in the accusative. I love my mother. So mother would be in the accusative. Latin, the exact same thing. Pais is puer. Paidos is pueri. Paidi is puero. And the accusative is puerum. These are just endings that go on nouns. Hebrew, or first of all, Hebrew is a Semitic language, and another famous example of a Semitic language is Arabic. In Arabic, this isn't really exact because if it's indefinite, it's going to have in the nation, it's going to end in an N. But we're going to say waladu. Waladu means a boy, just like puer means a boy and pais means a boy. If you say of a boy, you say waladi. Waladi is the genitive this is in Quranic Arabic. Al-waladi would be of the boy. And al-waladu is the boy. And if it's the object of the sentence, the object of the verb, it's al-walada. So Hebrew used to have this same case ending. And we see this in a lot of remnants of old words. Like, for example, this one, if we're going to take the walad in Arabic, we're going to transfer that into ancient Hebrew, we would have had the form waldu. Waldu, waldi, walda. These are case endings. It means boy, 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 child, 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 whatever. Waldi. It just happened that nowadays we pronounce the vav as vav, not w. We would say this as valdu, and we have the word valad in the Bible. Valad is a real word. It means boy, just like yeled. Yeled is the more common form. Yeled. And we're going to see how walad or waldu became yeled. That's what we're looking at when we're looking at segolates.
So Hebrew from the vav goes to a yod, but Arabic never makes the transition.
That's true. That is true. The roots that begin with vav in Proto-Hebrew converted them to yod. So we will see roots that they look like their first yod, like yeled, but in reality, the root that led to it is a vav and not a yod. So we have to start to think that yod and vav are very interchangeable in Hebrew. Whereas in Arabic, the waw, the vav, sticks in place. It doesn't disappear like it does in Hebrew. Okay, so what happened to waldu, waldi, walda? I'm sorry about this linguistic history lesson, but this is important for understanding how we got the forms that we do. I'm going to change now these W's, which are the historical forms, waldu, waldi, walda, and we're going to change that to a Y because our root today begins with Y. Yalda, yaldu, yaldi. So we're going to change, first of all of those to ya. Okay, so I'm glad that John asked that question because it's true. That is true. So we have yaldu. This is still historical. This is still theoretical. Okay, theoretical. So the masculine would be for a boy, yaldu as the subject, yaldi as genitive, and yalda as accusative. Where can we see these still in Hebrew? So we know the word eretz means land, right? Eretz. We have the word arza. Arza means, or if eretz means ground, then arza means to the ground, because the accusative case in Latin, in Greek, in Arabic, in Hebrew, the accusative case is used for direction toward something. So to say to the city in Arabic, or in Latin, you say ad urbem. Urbem is the accusative case. And it's consistent that direction toward is used with the accusative. So we see this old accusative in Hebrew remain. So we have Yerushalayim, to Jerusalem, Mitzrayim, to Egypt, Mizbaha, to the altar, or Mizbecha, Mizracha, to the east, Ma'arava, to the west. This ending that's hanging on the end is an old accusative case that remains even until modern Hebrew. It is in the biblical language, and it's even until modern Hebrew. At some point before Hebrew was written down, I want to say about the feminine. The feminine had the same thing. It was based on at. So yalda, we know as a girl, but yaldatu, yaldati, yaldata. They had endings. At some point in history, before Hebrew was written, the case ending system was dropped. It was lost. The cases, they just disappeared from the spoken language because it's simpler to speak without case endings. Even in modern Arabic, the case endings are gone. In the Quran, they have the case endings, but in dialectical Arabic, they've dropped case endings. So we would say for the dog in Arabic is kalb, but they would have said kalbun. Kalbun is a dog, and al-kalbu is the dog. But nowadays, it's just kalb. If you come to Israel, you hear an Arabic speaker, they're going to say kalb, and no case ending. So at some point in Hebrew's history, the case endings dropped, and we were left with something like this: yald. Yald is a boy, and yaldat for a girl. It's very easy to imagine how yaldat, the taf, also just disappeared. But let's look at what we have. We have, in the first instance, in the masculine, we have a consonant cluster. Are you guys following me? I feel like I'm preaching.
Well, yeah.
I'm good. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You're
good.
preaching. This is an advanced Hebrew topic, so if it's overheads, you can ignore it.
The only question is not in every language. Not every language develops towards simplifying and getting rid of the endings. Some languages go to making it more complicated, like Russian has.
Russian still uses cases.
Yes, and there is no evidence that it is going to reduce them.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Especially in modern language where things are basically stabilized. Russian has become a stabilized language with a plethora of dictionaries, of grammar books. Once you reach that point, there is no going back. Like Russian will never lose its case system.
Jason,
but Hebrew did.
About Arabic, the modern Arabic loses the case ending. So do they determine nominative, accusative by position in the sentence vis-a-vis the verb, like in English?
And Hebrew does too. Hebrew determines. Oh, I didn't notice that our cameras were off. we weren't showing the cameras because I had the whole screen taken up by the.
Let me know when I can chime in with something.
So why don't you just finish what you were going to say?
Yeah, that just like in English, word order determines the subject and object. That's also the case in Hebrew and in Arabic now. But Hebrew also has a determiner for an accusative that I think is probably because of the lack of cases, which is why we introduced the form et, not we, but they. Why they started using et was to mark the object. Anyway, Jonathan, you wanted to chime in.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in because for years and years and years, Hebrew studies was comparative Semitics in general across the board was done based on analogy to Arabic. Arabic was the language that we went to because Arabic went through very few changes in its history in comparison to other Semitic languages. So, but that was until until we found the Dead Sea Scrolls and Ugaritic texts. So Arabic doesn't quite have the same preeminence that it once did, but still very fun.
The only thing that makes Arabic still a model language in my mind is that it's more accessible. Like I can read the Arabic alphabet. I can't read Ugaritic. So that's the difference.
Ugaritic is in like cuneiform, isn't it?
It's a form of cuneiform,
So back to it. We ended up when we drop the case endings with consonant clusters. What is a consonant cluster? It's when you put two consonants together. So yald, yald, that's the form, and the feminine ending in at. That at ending just kind of dropped to a. So let's see how this worked out. If I can move to the next one. So when we had a consonant cluster, first I should say that these are actually three types because there are three vowels in Hebrew, like three vowel classes. There's the A class, the E class, and the U class. There are three vowel classes. The E vowels, is part of the I class, and the O vowels are part of the U class. These are vowel classes, groups. So we have three types of things that happened. That when the case endings dropped, it could be kotl, which is what we have here, ah, or kitl with the e, if the middle word is middle vowel is e, or kotl or kutl, kutl, same thing. So we're going to see this consonant cluster that is two consonants side by side. And Hebrew did not like that. Arabic didn't mind it. Arabic doesn't mind consonant clusters. So they can say kalb and whatever. But Hebrew, when we had kalb, we said, no, we don't like it. And so what they do is let's say we've got yald. Okay. To break the cluster, to break it, you insert a segol. This is why we call them segolates.
Yeah.
We call them segolate nouns because they insert segol, And once you've inserted that segol, the word kind of wants to color itself with the same vowel, so the first syllable also becomes . This first syllable is just copying the sound of the second. So the steps were yald as a consonant cluster, and then yalid, and then yelid. Okay, so what is a segolate noun? A segolate noun is a noun in which the loss of the case ending system created a consonant cluster, and the consonant cluster demanded resolution. Okay? I hope I'm not talking over your heads too much.
Yeah, that's
the
good.
feminine segolate nouns, what's that?
That's good.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah.
The feminine segolate nouns, they went through a very easy change where the at just became a, and you didn't need to break the consonant cluster because it's in the middle of a word. So yalda, we can keep. That's fine. But when there is no vowel between them, yald, we don't like it. And so we break it apart with a segolate. Okay, so let's look now at kotl forms. These are ones that end when they broke with the case ending. They have inside of them an ah vowel. Okay, Colton wants us to read his comment before we move on. He said many languages move in cycles. They go from simple to complicated, and then back to simple.
I thought we talked about that. I'm sorry,
Colton.
No,
Elena did mention that Russian didn't simplify, and it actually added more information into its linguistic coding. But there are languages that move in and out. English went through harsh simplification. English also had case endings. They had cases, and it simplified a lot. English is very simple today. So we know the word regel. You learned the word regel as foot. Okay. What it was raglu, ragli, ragla. It dropped the case and they became ragul, and they didn't like gul, and so they said regel. Ragel, regel. Ragel, regel. This ragel we will see in, when will we see ragel?
Pause.
In pause. Pause meaning in a disjunctive accent within a verse. If it's telling you to stop, it will go back to a historical form. This is great. Hebrew is beautiful. It goes back to a historical form, and instead of saying regel, it says ragel. And we see that historical form that was ragel. We also see it when we add the suffixes for personal possession. So regel means foot, but how do you say my foot? You say ragli.
So my king would be Malachi?
No. King is malk. Oh, it's the next word. So let's look at it. It's the next word on the list. Melech came from malku. Malku, which dropped the case ending and had malk. And then the Segolates inserted melech. And to say my king is malki. It goes back to the historical form malk.
Okay, so just it always seems strange to me that an e vowel would reduce or change to an a vowel. You'd think it would be in the same class, but it's really just going back to a historical form. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a historical form, malki.
All right.
But it's not that this is really an e vowel. This is copying the sound from this one. So the form was malk, and then they inserted so it's malk, the stress was here, and then they inserted an e to break the consonants apart. And once you had malek, this sound just went and copied itself. Melek.
Okay, it's easier to say, I guess.
Yeah, it's all about what's easier on the tongue. That's where it came from. It originated from that. Okay. The next word we have is slave. Ived began as abdu, which was abd, and then abed with ayn. Abed. The consonants became softened with time, so that abed became ived.
Huh.
And we see it again, avdi, my slave, avdi. I'm using my here, but it could be his with all, like raglo, his foot, malko, his king, avdo, his slave.
So question, Abdullah, that's the name, Abdullah? Yes. Abdullah, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. This is Allah, and Abdullah is the slave of Allah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of elided into one word. It's two words that are elided.
Mm-hmm. And you can hear the case ending. It's Abdullah. The la is Allah, and the u is the nominative case ending. Abdu.
Oh, very interesting. We just spoke about ya, and this is la.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You see.
Yeah.
And we do it in Hebrew, like in Hebrew, you've got like the word ya that's attached to names, and in Arabic they have Allah attached to names generally.
Like Yonatan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or Netanya.
Oh.
Okay. Next, we've got the word kelev. Kelev, we already talked about. Kalb. What about Jonathan? Oh, he's gone again. So kalbu became kalb, which was broken apart as kelev, and then we have kelev, and my dog, kalbi for the historical form. Okay, this is why Segolates are so fun, because they show this ancient history of the language, which to me, that's amazing.
Are there any known Semitic languages that are close to this, this hypothetical primitive language?
My experience isn't that great. My experience is Spanish and Hebrew.
Okay.
So I really don't know.
All right.
I don't know. So Eretz becomes from Artsu. It comes from Artsu, which dropped the case and became Arts. We didn't like it, so we said Eretz. Okay. We see it in Artsi, my land, and in Artsa, to the land. Okay. Then we have what happens when you have a guttural in place of a regular letter. Remember, we talked about gutturals having their issues. One of the things is that gutturals like A vowels, A quality. They like A quality. So if we had zar'u, let's go to the, it'd be zar'u with the case ending, zar'u, okay? The case ending dropped, and we have zar, with the ayin just hanging out there. When they tried to add and make this zera, the guttural does not like segol. It likes because it's in the throat. It's okay?
Yeah.
So instead of zera, it says zera. Zera. Gutturals like A vowels instead of E vowels. Okay? So if you have guttural in last position, it's going to affect the vowel before it. And if you have a guttural in the middle of the word, it's going to affect the one before it and after it. And it's going to change them to patach. Okay, so let's look at one that has a guttural in the middle, and then we'll be finished with the A quality and move to E quality. Da'at. This would like to be da'it, but the ayin says no to the segol and changes it to patach. So it affects the one in front of it and the one after it. Da'at. Da'at instead of de'et. Okay? Gutturals like patach instead of segol. All right, but they are still segolet. They just have an sound instead of an sound. Okay, now we're looking at ones that have an E in the middle of their historical root. Okay. So the word sefer, book, originally was sipru, or sifru. Okay, when it dropped the case ending, it became sipr or sipir. And when we inserted the it became sefer, like we have here, sefer. Okay, we see it whenever we add my book or his book, sifri, my book, sifro, his book. Okay. All right, so we have that I inside of it, so we call it kittel. All right, moving right along. The word neder, vow, is nidri, my vowel. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I think you've got the idea, right? We're just going to blow through it. How do you feel about that?
Okay, but I do have a question. When are you done here?
Yes. No, go for it now.
All right. I came across, right after I read this thing about the Segolates, I came across this word for valley, Amek. It's an iron.
Emek.
And I looked up, and it looked like a Segolate to me. Maybe it's not. I looked up the plural in the dictionary, and it was ayin hatep patach,
mem kamatz,
and then a comets under the end.
Yes. Okay, so this is asking a question that I wasn't yet ready for, but excellent. Something you need to know is that Segolate nouns have two roots. They have two separate roots. The first root is for the singular, and the second root is for the plural.
Wow.
The singular is the one in which the consonant cluster exists. The plural looks exactly like davar. So in all cases, the Segolate nouns in the plural are going to behave just like devarim, reduction, long ending, in the plural.
All right, thank you.
But in the dual, they're going to be closed with the consonant cluster, so that regel becomes raglaim. Raglaim in the dual, the consonant cluster is preserved, but in the plural, it is not. So if we're talking about the pilgrimage festivals, from the word regel, the root for the plural is ragal. That's the root. We're going to build it off of ragal, just like davar, and it becomes re with reduction, re ga lim, regalim, re This is Gimel, Lamed.
And what do you
Yud,
call that,
Mem.
Jason? You
What
have
do I
to
call that?
study your historical Hebrew grammar. Anapixis. But that's definitely a minutia term that nobody needs to worry about.
But it's a great word, anapixis.
I know. That's why I
Put
like
that out in a
there. I'm doing
conversation.
Jason again.
I
Jason
don't even
says
know what you think that means. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what that
Anapixis
means.
is when it went
Out
from
of something.
Anaptixis is when it went from Malk to Melech. That's Anaptixis.
The
Where
drop
the
of the
A's went
case
to
ending?
E's and then the E echo vowel. That's Anaptixis.
Okay, well. So it has a word.
Yes, it does.
It
Jason
seems
doesn't
to
like
me-
labels.
It seems to me that they invent words for everything.
Hey, I took Hebrew from a linguist, which they do invent words for everything.
So again, the dual has the closed first syllable, and the plural has a separate root. Now, I wasn't going to cover that immediately, but if you think of kever, the root is going to operate like davar, kavar, and then we're going to say the plural ot. The first syllable reduces kvarot. Kvarot. So it is good that you noticed that. I wasn't going to mention it immediately, but it's absolutely true. So melech, the plural root is going to be like davar, like malach. And then im, this is near, it's long. This is distant, it reduces. Melachim, melachim. Right? So it's true, absolutely, what you're saying, that emek, when it goes into the plural, is going to behave as if it were amak. And then we add the im ending, and we drop that first syllable to reduce to amakim. Okay, so great question. Fantastic. So the word eder is eidru, either, and eder, and idri. I'm overpronouncing. Idri. Idri is my herd. My herd. Okay, lekach, because it has the guttural, takes the patach instead. So it's not lekech, but lekach. Lekach, a lesson, something that you learn from likho, lik, lekach. So likhi is my lesson. All right, we're going to learn the personal endings much later. Don't worry about that right now. Right now, the point is the keeping of that ancient form. Somebody's got a noise that keeps going off. I don't know what it is. Like a bontuk, bontuk. Melach, the same thing that ends in chet, that influences, so it's not melech, but melach, which is salt. It's from milho, milh, melach. Okay? And then we get to the third type, which has an u or o in the middle of it. This is the word boker. Boker is morning. How do we recognize what words are segolet? Number one, we look for a segol. Okay. And number two, we're going to look for the stress, the word stress. A segolet noun is going to be stressed on the first syllable in the normal form. Regel, boker, emek, eder, sefer, neder. They're stressed on the first syllable, whereas normally we say that in Hebrew words are stressed on the last syllable. Okay? And so those are two things, segol and stress. And the third thing we're going to look for is consonant clusters. Consonant clusters, because that's what causes the effect of the segolet. And we're going to see that this segolet effect actually happens in verbs also. It happens in participles. It happens everywhere in Hebrew, and all of the weird things that happen in Hebrew are explicable by understanding the segolet, the tendency to break consonant clusters. So this lesson is a basis of everything you will see in Hebrew. And it's also the reason why I love the segolets. Let's look through comments real quick. We still have about 15 minutes. And I think we're going to make it through with no problem. Let's see. Colton says there's inscriptional material that has some of ancient features, but many are hard to see because we're talking about vowels which weren't written. That's the problem with Semitic languages. They didn't write vowels, and so it's hard to say sometimes. Did Ugaritic express vowels? Does anybody know?
Yes, Ugaritic actually has written vowels, I think.
So that would make it very useful. The languages from later times when vowels are explicit to compare and reconstruct this Proto-Northwest Semitic. That's which is why the Quranic Arabic is very useful to us, because it maintains old forms and it has vowels written. Marcelo says it's very interesting to listen. Imagine a language made of all the common roots that most languages share, trying to go to a universal language instead of that one that was invented. What was it called?
Esperanto.
Esperanto. Sounds like Spanish. I've seen some similarities with Spanish, probably from the Arab influence, from the Al-Andalus. Andalus, excuse me. Great. Arabic kind of feeds into a lot of languages at some point, but Spanish has a lot. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's the word we're going to conquer right now. Boker, as in Boker Tov. So we see the word stress is on the first syllable. We see the presence of a segol breaking the consonant cluster. And the other thing was consonant cluster itself. So the consonant cluster we're going to see in the historical form, Bokri, my morning. My morning. There's also this word that means cow or cattle, and that's bakar. Bakar.
Oh, same in Spanish.
Baco. Baca.
Okay.
So this one, whenever you add E, like mine, it's going to act like normal words, because normal words don't have the consonant cluster. So it's bekari, my cattle, bekari, as opposed to bokri, my morning. Okay, so like devari, my word, devari. Okay, all right, great. Chodesh, you see the segol, you see the word stress on the beginning of the word, even though it's an O. The O is what we see expressed. Okay, actually, we don't have a lot of time because I still have to do Geminates. Ooh. So this is Chodshi, which means my month or monthly. Kodshi, my holiness, from Kodesh. You should see the pattern. Godel, Kodesh, Chodesh, Boker, all of these are segolates from these old roots. Gudlu, Kudshu, Chudshu, Bukru. Okay, that becomes Godli, my greatness, Kodshi, my holiness. Okay, we're not going to go too much further into this. Ohel has a guttural in the middle of it, but the hey does like to accept eh. Some gutturals do, some gutturals don't. But we will notice that when the syllable closes, we have an echo vowel. It's ohel, and this reduces to o, and then that vowel is echoed into the guttural. Oholi, oholi, my tent. I know we'll cover guttural. We'll cover the guttural use of echo vowels later on. Gova, gova, height is govhi, my height. And orach, notice here with the chet taking the, so this hey is a guttural hey, it's a real hey, taking the patach, and this chet is taking patach instead of segol as well. Orach, path, urhu, and orach, orchi, my path. Okay, let's move on because.
I'm really sorry. The holum of the singular, is that long or is it short? Because the patach hataf will be short.
The holum of the singular. This?
Yeah. No, yeah, or
the cholam. That's long. The cholam is always long.
Right.
Cholam is always long. And when it's reduced to short, it becomes kamatz katan.
Got it. All right, thank you. I just wanted to.
It could sometimes, instead of kamatz katan, turn into kubutz. It could be this one. We saw this actually in our reading of Psalm 150 today, where instead of godlo, it says gudlo. Gudlo and Godlo are the same thing. It can be either one historically. The same with like we saw Uzi, or we said Uzo in the reading, which is his strength. Remember the firmament of his strength. This was read by Elena. Rekia Uzo. Ozo. So Ozo might appear in other places as Ozo. Ozo and Uzo is the same. Like once it's short, historically, it's the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so there's a special class of nouns that when they had their case endings, had a doubled sound, like ammu, ammu. The mem is doubled, ammu. And then when the case ending dropped off, you end up with like a, so if we think of it like ammu, ammu, the case ending dropped off, we don't like a geminated letter at the end of a word. The dagesh always disappears.
At the end of a word.
And so ammu became am.
Is that a kind of
John, are you trying to say something? You were really quiet. I could only hear you because I had headphones on.
You talking to me?
Yeah.
No.
Did you have did you just ask a question?
Yeah, I did. Is that a kind of virtual doubling?
Not virtual. She's not virtual, but real, because it has dagesh. Dagesh is real doubling.
But I mean, for the singular, I mean.
So once we lost the case endings. This is a special instance of the Segolate system. So in the Segolate, you had like Kelev, where you have Lamed and Bet at the end. But here you have two mems, mu, mu. So it's a special case where instead of inserting like mem, they just dropped the doubling. All right, they just dropped the doubling. So ammu becomes am in the singular. But
and then it comes back with the endings.
Yeah, and that root actually has two mems. The root has two mems. So when you add the suffix for my, ami, the root is doubled. It's two mems. We call it not katl, but kallul. Kallul. It's two L's. Two L's means that it's the root is kuf, tet, lamed. These are roots in which the final letter is actually doubled. So it's like this. But the doubling is represented by dagesh. Okay? So let's look at another example. Sak. Sak is from the old form sakku. Sakku. And then the doubled kuf just drops one of the kufs and it becomes sak. So when you add my, it's sakki. Sakki. My sack. It is the word sack in English, is sak in Hebrew, and it also is like sackcloth. Somebody puts on sackcloth because they're mourning. I've used this symbol to indicate that this is doubled. Yeah. So sar was from an original doubled resh, saru, that's sar and sar. We don't double resh anymore, so it rejects the dagesh, and instead of dagesh, we have compensatory lengthening. Sari, my prince. Okay? Pah is from pahu, it's doubled. Pahu, this means trap. Today it means garbage can. Pah, and then just pah. And this is virtual doubling whenever it's got the suffix. So it's pahi, my trap. Okay? There is a class of words that originally were anpu with a nun inside of it, but we know that nuns assimilate. So anpu became appu, which became up and then af, and is now api, my nose. Af, api. Where do we see this, the geminate? We see it in the root whenever we add the suffix. Okay? That's the point. Now, just like we had A quality, I quality, and U quality, we're going to have the same thing now that we have I quality. So the word chetz is from chetzu. Chetz. This is compensatory lengthening because the tzadi dropped, the extra tzadi dropped off, the vowel lengthened from E to A. So chetz is an arrow, but my arrow is chetzi. So you see that it's connected to segolates because it has a consonant cluster, but it resolved it differently by, instead of inserting a vowel between them, it just dropped the gemination. Gemination just means that the letters doubled. And gemination is represented by dagesh chazak. Okay? I hope this is making sense, because to me, this is exciting. But how much time we got? 5 minutes. So M is mother, from immu, em, compensatory lengthening. Imi, my mother. Imi, my mother. M, mother. Okay? Ez is a she-goat, a goat. Izi. Okay, this is also from a noon infix, that the original was einzu. Einzu. The einzu, the noon assimilated, become aizu. The u case ending dropped, and the e was lengthened for compensation of the loss of zayin. So ez, ezi. Whoever does aleph with beth will play a lot with the word eyes. All right. Whew. The third group is the kolul or kulul. Kulul or kolul. So hok is from hoku, hok. Compensatory lengthening. Hoki, my statute. Bear, dove.
If you guys are following this is advanced Hebrew grammar talk. So if you're following this, then you're probably realizing that Jason's doing an amazing job teaching and it's really fun. But if it's too hard, then don't worry.
Muriel says that these explanations made things much clearer than just
They
reading it.
do, yes. It always helps me to understand why something does something rather than just accepting that. But
let's try to finish this out because we've got very little time. So dove is from
finish. We'll finish it.
Dove and dubi. Dubi, my bear. Oz, again, ozi or ozi. Okay? We covered so much, and this really, like Jonathan said, is very advanced stuff. So if there was something you didn't understand, please go back and watch it. I think this was able to make it clear enough that it should make sense to anybody who is caught up with us at this point. So you need to do exercise 5 from page 45, all of the sections of it. That includes, you're going to see that there is in lesson 5, there's a reading like we did today, Velohenu Bashamayim, Kol Asher Chafetz Asa. Okay, it's got reading that you need to read and go through, identify the words. Starting in lesson 6, that's next week, you're going to have translation exercises for which you need to have a Hebrew Bible. They don't print it in the book. You need to be able to look it up. You can look it up online and do your translation exercises online, or you can buy a print copy of the Bible if you don't have one. If you have any questions over your exercises, please go to our Discord server. We have a specific channel called Homework Help. It's not just for this group, but it's for anybody who needs help with Hebrew stuff. So come on Discord. We are there all the time. Lots of people are willing to help and answer questions.
Hey,
when you finish exercise 5,
take a bow.
Adel. Thank you very much. This is really my favorite topic in Hebrew, so this is why I was like, oh, I need it. So anyway,
will you stop it? Stop.
Skip
I had to convince you to take it. Keep going.
We don't need excursus A because it's going to teach you to identify roots to use BDB. Nobody really has to use BDB anymore in a print form. But if you want to read it, you can. You don't need to. But do go ahead and read through Lesson 6, and that's what Jonathan will be teaching Lesson 6 on the definite article and prefixed prepositions and that type of thing for next week.
And we are right on time.
All that I have for you lovely
made
people.
It. Good job, everyone.
Jonathan, John, you're muted. I don't hear you.
I don't know how.
Could you give the Discord URL? I know I always ask this.
It's just thehebrewcafe.com/Discord.
Thank you.
Very, very easy. Hebrewcafe.com/Discord. It will give you a link to join us. Thank you guys so much. We got to go on to the third hour with our Patreon. So we will see you next week. Oh, we got another comment. Sorry. Marcelo says, I'm very much starting, but this is fascinating. Can't join the next session. Oh, all right. Well, we'll see you after that. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you.
Thank you.